Hey everybody, three things that I wanted to talk to you about here. One is going to be visual storytelling. We're going to take that and actually lead into how to build a community. And as we talk about how to actually build a community, what that's going to lead into is how to actually acquire clients and customers and make sales through social media. So what I'm going to do is just give a little bit of a background on each of these and then transition them from one topic to the next. And it really is kind of one cycle. So that's what we're going to get into. So let's start with visual storytelling. And if you are going to tell a story, you have to know what the main message is that you're wanting to get across first. Now, that could be whether you're trying to just tell the entire story of your company, what's been going on for 30 plus years. That could just be something that you're wanting to a central message that you're trying to get across over the course of a year, or maybe you're running a campaign right now that's 6 to 8 weeks long and there's just a central message that you want to tell. Then there's a story that you want to get out. So the first thing you need to know is, what is this story that you're telling overall? What is the big message that you want to get out? And then basically everything that you do throughout this campaign or this time period is going to be tied back to that story. And the way that you do that, it's very easy on social media today to do this visually, is you just make snippets of content, pieces of things that people are able to consume that you definitely need to make sure they're interesting, because that's what you're competing for on social media, is somebody's attention. It is so fast paced. You really don't have a lot of time to catch somebody. But if you're able to do it and you can hold on to them for, in some cases, maybe 15 to 20 seconds. In other cases, if you've got a bunch of different videos that you're doing, maybe you'll be able to hold their attention for even 3 to 4 minutes. So it has to be, you got to know the story, and then you have to do it in a way that's going to be interesting enough to keep people's attention. And then as you're doing this, as you're putting these pieces of content up and you're tying everything back to this central theme, what you're really hoping that this is going to do is that it's going to start a conversation. Everything on social media comes back to conversations. It's not about likes. It's about people that are actually interacting with the content that you have and that are talking to you on a one-to-one level. That is the biggest opportunity with social media in 2017, is that you are able to have dialogue that used to only come up in sales meetings face-to-face and through tons of prospecting. You now have all this information at your fingertips just by looking at somebody's profile or looking at somebody's feed on Twitter and seeing what it is that they're tweeting about. So if you are telling a visual story, you've got a number of different ways to do it. Of course, you can upload pictures directly that tie things back to this central theme that you're doing. You can also create graphics if that's something that you're strong in. If you really like to do infographics, that again is something that if somebody is scrolling through and they see something that catches their eye statistic-wise or visually, they are going to stop, and that's absolutely what you want. Another option is video, and that is something that in 2017 is another big play, because you've got so many different ways to do it. You're able to live stream, you're able to shoot videos and either upload them individually, or you can actually tie them together. So on Instagram, you can only do videos that are a minute long each, but you can post those together to where you really can turn this into having a 7 or 8 minute vlog video just on Instagram, which is the biggest place for one-on-one interaction right now. We'll totally get into that here in just a few minutes. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So you've got a whole bunch of different ways to do video, and then again we talked about the pictures and the graphics. Now, one way of communicating your story that we haven't really talked about, because it's not visual, is audio. And you have a few different ways you can do this. You can do podcasting. Most of you are probably aware of that, and some of you are probably also aware of Anchor. If you're not familiar with this, it's almost like having your own radio station, complete with background music if you choose to. But what these are short audio clips up to 5 minutes long. Again, it's another way that you can continue to tell that story that you're you're wanting to put out to the world and that you're wanting to start conversations around. So if you can do one of these really well, then that's fantastic. Then you could tell your story. But even better is if you can mix the different ways, visually and or otherwise, and just tie it back to one central thing. Because again, another way to keep somebody's attention is to put different types of content in front of them, but you need to be able to do it in a compelling and in an interesting way. So if you're good at doing multiple types of visual and audio content, then you want to mix that together and just make sure that you're giving them a nice variety. So what you're hoping from this is that once you have these conversations going, is that these people are going to end up in your community. Now, if you haven't built a community on social media, this is actually, there's so many, like everything else that we hear about as marketers, there's so many tools that you can do this from. So I will use the example of the community that I have, for Your Level Fitness. You want to have that central theme. So again, we're coming back to our storytelling elements here. So for me, it is getting a group of individuals together. Most of them are through Cincinnati and the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area, and it's basically where all exercise preferences and all eating preferences, whatever diet you're following, are accepted. Because I'm not sure if you're how familiar you are with that industry, but runners tend to stay together. CrossFitters tend to stay together. People that are on paleo tend to stay together. People that are doing Weight Watchers, they all kind of stay together. So my whole thing was trying to get everybody in one place to do really just to kind of hold each other accountable and support one another. So you got to have your central idea first. And so then what you want to do is you want to have ways for people to interact and get together. So if you're doing this online, you start with Facebook and you do a Facebook group, because as you know now that organic reach on Facebook, the stuff that you just post without having to put any money behind it, is nowhere near as effective as it used to be. So if you do a group, whereas if you're doing an organic post on Facebook, you might get one or two, we'll just say less than 5% of the fans of your page or the followers of your page are actually going to see it. In groups, it's a little bit higher. It's still pretty low, though. You'll probably get closer to, you'll probably reach close to 10% of the people by posting it in a group. But groups are great places that if people do see something in Facebook groups, they do tend to start conversations. And again, that's what you want. So you want people to comment, you're able to reply to their comments, and it is a good way to have a conversation in a centralized location. Now, moving from Facebook groups, the other place you want to go starting out is going to be Instagram. And what you're going to want to do over here, again, you're going to be putting content out where you're going to be telling the story around this group. So again, a place for me, it's where all eating and exercise preferences are accepted. So I start putting content around, and that is a mix of content. That's going to be quotes, that's going to be videos, that's going to be stories, that's going to be infographics that include not only macros and calories, but also Weight Watcher points too. So everybody kind of has the information that they're looking for. But then you start, when you're putting this information out, you start including a hashtag for your group. Now, when you're doing your hashtag research, and you should be doing research, I know that everybody that sees this should be aware, but you still need to do it. Make sure that there isn't anything offensive or obscene that either comes up when you search for that hashtag or when you type it out. You want to make sure that it doesn't look, that it doesn't read as something that you probably wouldn't want it to read as, because we've all seen those tags where you read it, you look at them and you're like, wait a minute, what does that say? So you want to stay clear of that. You want it to be a very straightforward hashtag. You don't want it necessarily to be too long, though. So people want to know what they're searching for, what this is tied to, but you don't want it to be so long that they can't really type it out. The one that I do is hashtag YLF community, or hashtag Your Level Fitness community. And then what I do after I started posting about this is I would just start talking to my followers and ask them, hey, if you are interested in having, support and accountability, and you don't really care which eating or exercise plan people are on, but you just want to hold them, you want to support them through their process, then use hashtag YLF community. So if you do that in a post, it can be effective. If you do that in your story and you put the hashtag in your story, and then you tag the location in there as well so more people can see it, then that works. But I'll tell you where this really has some teeth is when you start having these ongoing conversations through DM with your Instagram followers, which, by the way, if you're not doing that yet, you should be. But just going and asking them. And it's like anything else, and this is leading into what we're going to talk about, getting clients and customers through social media, is you're going to have the one-on-one conversation. Now, you're not just going to go in there cold and say, hey, I'm now using hashtag YLF community. I'd like you to use it at your, for your post. It's not like that. You, again, on Instagram, you're able to go into somebody's profile. You can see how their day or their week's going and just start a conversation. You might talk to them for 2 to 3 days before you even mention the fact that you would like them to use your hashtag. You wait for it to come up. Or it's not going to come up 100% naturally, but there are places where you can fit it in. So that's going to be the biggest thing when you're building your community and when you're looking at client acquisition, which is what we're going to get into next, is that you want to make sure that you're patient with the conversation that you're having. You don't want to be throwing the sales pitch right off, and that's something that you see a lot on social media. You can get away with it with your Facebook ads sometimes because you could actually have them click to a sales page, and you can just basically get the transaction right there. You can technically do it other places. It's just really, really frowned upon. So, and when we're building a community, it is more about the conversation and getting people involved as being part of your community. So that's what you would do is one-to-one, you'd have the conversation, you would ask them to use the hashtag, and then what you're going to do most importantly, because this is the best part of having your own hashtag, is that you're going to search that tag, both the top post for it and the most recent ones, and you're going to go through, not only like them, but you're going to provide individual responses to the posts that they're doing. Leave comments or write the comment out, send it as a direct message. Instagram is the easiest place to have one-on-one conversations right now. So you definitely want to be able to take advantage of it. And as you guys know, it is the, I'm not even gonna say probably, it is the hottest platform right now because they have all the features. Everybody's moving over there. So right now, this is the perfect time for you to have one-on-one conversations and to build a community. And so once you really can just use, Facebook and Instagram to do this. However, like anything else, you can use the other platforms to talk about it too. You can go on to Twitter. You can search through in my case, I would search for the fitness and the weight loss hashtags and just start talking to people. And then you can invite them into the community. There's people that I interact with on Instagram that don't live in the Cincinnati area, but they wanted to be part of the Your Level Fitness community. So you go ahead and you get them added as well. And it works the same with any of the platforms that you're on. And then if you are doing this as something local, there's really no excuse for you not to have merchandise around this community. I mean, with all of the online print shops to where you basically can upload a graphic, you can upload a quote and turn it into a t-shirt and have it delivered, order a couple of them or order one shirt and have it delivered in a week. You can walk around town and you could be sporting your community, or you can be sporting your hashtag or whatever it is that you decide to do. So you've got so many ways that you can, you start this community online, but then you can actually bring it out into the real world. You can have meetups. You can have all sorts of different things to actually build a both digital and a real world community. So it's really a neat way to build a brand and do all of this stuff and that you're able to do right now. So when we talk about community is one thing, and I look at when you're branding, you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be aware of you. Then underneath that, you're going to have a few of those people that want to be in your community. They want to interact with you regularly. They want to have support and accountability in the Your Level Fitness case. And then underneath that, you're going to have people that are actually going to turn into clients and customers. So how do you turn people on social media into clients and customers? Well, the first thing that you need to do, and we go back to the last discussion about being patient in your conversation, is you have to be patient. There are so many people that will just throw sales pitches in comments, in DM, and they will do this cold. There'll be no interaction. It's really gotten to the point where people are turned off by it. And in the industry that I do a lot of this stuff in fitness, it's really bad because everybody's a coach, everybody's got products. It's crazy. You'll get all kinds of DMs and all kinds of pitches. So the number one thing is patience, and all you're doing is you're starting a conversation. So when we talked about you're telling a story, and you were hoping by telling a story that you would be able to start a conversation. Then by starting a conversation, you're hoping that you would be able to get this person eventually interested in your community. And then if they are really into the community, they love the message, they love what it is that you do, then you can see if there's an opportunity for them to actually do business with you. So it's just a continual progression. So you're going to talk to people that are in your community, or you'll talk to people that maybe aren't in your community, but you've got a pretty good dialogue going with. And if what you offer is something that would really help them, then you just eventually, gradually bring it up in the conversation, talk to them about it, and you see where it goes. And, if you make your sales pitch and they're not interested, the conversation still goes on. And the conversation goes on about other stuff besides why they're not buying your offering. So, really it's just continuing along the communication path, taking them from, being aware of your story to coming into your community to then eventually getting to where you're going to be selling. Now, selling again, and I come from a traditional sales background, so it used to be where we would have to dial for dollars and pick up the phone, and we'd prospect through lists, and we do all this stuff. And you really, through Instagram especially, you're able to actually see what it is that people are interested in. You're able to tie the conversation back to what they're interested in, how you can help them. And if you're not getting enough information from what they're showing on Instagram, you head over to Snapchat. You look at their Snapchat stories for a couple of days. You see what it is that they're doing. You see what it is that they're kind of working through. You see where there's opportunities for you to help them. You go over to Twitter. There's so many different ways that you can just collect the information, and then you just have the conversation when the time is right and when you can actually help them. And then you make the sales pitch. And then once you make the sales pitch, if they're interested, you guys know how easy it is to process transactions online. You can do that anywhere. So that's really, again, we're talking about three separate things, but it is all one central idea, which is you tell the story to get the conversation started. Once the conversation started, you can get them into your community. And then once somebody is in your community, you would be able to then eventually make the sales pitch to them. So I'm really excited again for just really where, some of us, if you're in marketing, you feel like social media has been around forever, but it really is still early on in the process, especially where things are going now. It used to just be Facebook and Twitter, and before that MySpace, but you have so many different tools. They're continuing to evolve, and it's an exciting time to be a marketer. So I would like to hear from you guys if you have any comments or questions when it comes to any one of these three topics, really. If you would leave those in the section below, or if you would like to talk about this on social media, then that's perfect. You can head over to Twitter. I'm Daryl Perry on there, so just like the website, just DARYLPERRY. Or you can head over to Instagram. That is Your Level Fitness, all lowercase, all one word. And I'd love to have the conversation with you there. And if you are in the Cincinnati area and are going to be going to the show and tell event on Wednesday night, I'm hoping we're going to be able to have a conversation there. And if you are seeing this video after what we saw at show and tell, I saw what the topic list was. I thought it was something that would be one kind of one connective story, and I had some opinions on it. So in order for me to prepare for going to the event and seeing what was going on, I thought it would be good to put a video like this out. So if you're still hanging with me here, almost 20 minutes in, I really, really appreciate it. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you again real soon.